a podcast midseason, you and John decided to slum it. I went on there and I said, I still think that RJ Barrett is the Knicks' most important player long term. There's probably more of an argument than before for Julius Randle after giving him the extension. I am still of the mind that RJ Barrett is this team's most important player long term because of all that he either represents as either a co-star, or do you think he might have a higher ceiling than what Julius Randle is going to have at his, in what he's doing? Regardless, do you think there's a chance that we saw him hit a bunch of set 3-pointers last year, which was phenomenal development for him? There were times, and it felt like there's no science based from this, my perspective, when he attacked early in games, he could really put pressure on defenses. They would react. He'd make good decisions. He's shown that he can kind of finish in those instances. You'd like to see him. I think the biggest thing, among others, though, will he develop an off-the-dribble jumper? My twofold question is, do you have faith based off what you've seen, whether it's shots he's taken, the cadence of his game, that he can get there? And this might be the more important aspect of this question. Do you think he even gets the opportunity to augment his offensive game, given the way that this team is now built? Because there are so many players, Derrick Rose, Kemba Walker, Julius Randle, Evan Fournier, even Alec Burks, Emmanuel Quickly, though I would put them on a lower tier of importance, clearly, than RJ Barrett in the offense. I think you could make a case that the Knicks might opt to not feature him on the ball all that much, just based off the personnel they've surrounded him with.
So it's interesting you bring that up, because I think RJ Barrett's going to turn into the new Frank, where he's just so polarizing amongst the fan base, where you have to either project that he's going to be a future Hall of Famer and going to make the All-NBA team this year, or you have to say he sucks. We blew it at number 3. Why didn't we get Ja? And you can't just have like a reasonable, balanced take of, I think he could be the second or third best team on a team that goes to the best player on a team that goes like deep in the playoffs. And this year, like you could argue at points of last year, I should say, that he was their third best player behind Julius and Derrick Rose. That RJ at spurts was like a reliable jump shooter, but with some issues that he had at finishing at the rim and creating his own shot, you turn to guys that were better at it to do so. What I will say is, if he just has like the same season he had last year, but finishes better at the rim like 5%, and it's just like 4 points better a game, you're looking at a guy that's averaging 21 a game. And that's just like, again, 5%. Like hit 2 more of these layups, because he gets to the rim fine. He's not getting contact yet because he's 20 years old, and he's not going to get the respect from officials that you get when you're older. But like, he is getting to the rim with ease. It's the fact that he's not finishing that's the problem. That might be all they need him to do next year, because like you said, they have Kemba, they have Derrick Rose, they brought in Fournier. They might not need RJ to carry the load as much as the second or third best player. I will say though, like if those absolutist Knicks fans are right, and he does show up and like he's creating his own shot, and this is 2017 Jimmy Butler, then maybe like this is a thing where RJ Barrett is being considered for all-star teams and is the favorite for most improved player. And it's a good problem to have if RJ Barrett shows up and has more tricks in his bag, which I think as of right now, if he's just the same player as last year, but finishes at the rim better, that's fine. And I can talk myself into him even taking a few steps up like he did last year.
Yeah, I guess the thing for me is I would be more concerned with, I actually think there's going to be a very good sort of point wing in there, watching the cadence of his game, looking at table setting for others. I'm more concerned with the opportunity where you mentioned, if he's finishing at the rim better, that's a 20 plus point per game scorer, or the same level of shot opportunity is going to be there. I'm just so fascinated to see how they use him within the offense. I fell in love with, very small sample size, but like the RJ Barrett plus non-starters units just destroyed opponents. So, and I thought that was, Derrick Rose is on the court for some of those, but you also had like Taj Gibson and Frankie Ntilikina in some of those minutes. And so RJ Barrett had more responsibility there. And so I think that's encouraging, but I do come back to a sub 35 effective field goal percentage on pull-up jumpers. I want him to be able to work through the volume on that, because I do think off the dribble jumpers are probably the most important shot in basketball right now. And if you want him to be Jimmy Butler's not shooting well in pull-ups right now, but if you want him to be this upper echelon All-NBA candidate long term, I think it's a shot that he's really going to have to hit. And I don't know one way or the other. I just don't have if I had to pick, I wouldn't be able to tell you whether I think he gets there. I'm more concerned with is the opportunity for him to even try and develop that shot going to be there as the Knicks are presently constituted.
Well, so we open this pod somewhat. We'll open the Knicks discussion of like the health aspect is there. I mean, the bigger question I have is the opportunity might come in those load management games. And I wonder if the Knicks are, if Tibbs is going to let them have load management games, is he going to be like, okay, we need to watch.
I think we know the answer to that question.
I know the answer. I'm hopeful that somebody's in his ear. Like, you don't need to. We do this game now called I Know the Knicks because it's the offseason and we're just coming up with content ideas. And when we were doing trivia, we were talking about games the Knicks won by 15. Can you name all the games the Knicks won by 15, who the opponents were? And there's this Pistons game last year where they're up by 36 in the fourth quarter, and Julius Randle's in playing minutes 36 and 37. And it's like, what are you doing? And it's why I hope that there's somebody above him that is like, hey, we've now given you some reinforcements. Like, we're now gonna like spread the ball a little bit more, spread the wealth a little bit more. I think RJ, if he takes the step that people think he will, which look, imagine having this conversation like a year and a half ago and how much work we thought he needed to do, how broken of a jump shot he seemed to have. Now look at what we're talking about. Can he have the opportunity to flourish because what's around him has gotten better and he still has shown signs to be a productive NBA starter. It's a good problem to have is what I'll say. I like the idea that there are going to be multiple options rather than we're kind of fucked if RJ Barrett isn't good next year.